This episode of Trial by Stone is brought to you by Dream Fasting, the Dark Crystal Experience, a Facebook group for all discussions about the Dark Crystal. To join the group, just search on Facebook for Dream Fasting, the Dark Crystal Experience.
Another world, another time, in the age of wonder.
You are listening to
Trial by Stone.
Trial by Stone!
Trial by Stone!
This is what I came for.
Your vital essence, the Dark Crystal.
I can feel something. Hear it almost.
Don't move.
Don't move? Where would I go?
Quiet!
And here's your hosts, Philip Mitchell and Bland Garrett. Hello and welcome to Trial by Stone, and this is episode 32 of the podcast for February 2017. We got a lot that's been happening recently in all things Dark Crystal, which I'll certainly talk about it on the show. But unfortunately, Bland's been feeling a bit unwell at the moment, so I wish him well wishes and hope he gets better soon and hope to get him back on the show. You will hear from him later on in the show as we'll continue our discussion on the Gelfling Gathering document, which was part of the Author Quest, or sort of the document, that was for the Author Quest contest through darkcrystal.com. So you'll definitely hear from Bland on this month's show, but unfortunately just not with the recent news, so I'm going to solo this time. And first of all, for many of the listeners, you've probably seen this on the Facebook page, but we have a new logo for the Trial by Stone podcast, which is very awesome. And it was done by David Easter, who did the design for the logo. So I just wanted to say, if you're listening, David, thank you so much for the logo. It's fantastic. Yeah, when I think he approached me about possibility of doing a logo, or I think I approached him as well, and coming out with all these different ideas of what we wanted to do the logo, and essentially I just sort of wanted to have that sort of Dark Crystal / podcast crossover feel to the imagery, and so he came up with with what it is, and having the Skeksis and the Mystics part of that logo, which is very cool. And I'll give you some commentary about his thoughts on why that he chose the characters of Skek, Zok, and Ursol with the logo, and it was because of their titles. I'm just going to read some of these our messages of commentary, which I hope you won't mind. Anyways, so basically the ritual, the ritual master and the chanter. I thought these two, although not Urskek counterparts, would be select choices for a podcast, as they are the speakers, so which is pretty cool. Thoughts. The sort of the thinking process of what went through with the logo, and of course the red and gold lettering was chosen to be reminiscent of the very Trial by Stone scene, as those are prominent colors. So. So that's a little bit of commentary for the new logo, which is very awesome. I know in the past it was just that traditional sort of black background with yellow Dark Crystal font text. So, but I thought having the podcast for a good couple of years, I thought it was probably about time that we got a cool logo to go with it. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the logo. I think it was pretty cool, and just something new for this year, and of course to celebrate all things Dark Crystal being the 35th anniversary. And of course there has been quite a few announcements and stuff that's been happening with all things Dark Crystal, so I'll try and get through them all. And I guess the first thing, of course, would be the first issue of Powers of the Dark Crystal, which recently just came out, just about a week ago now, by the time I've uploaded the show. So, yeah, and basically, like, my thoughts, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, like, a great start for the story. It does make me curious about wanting to read the script version, just for comparison's sakes. I would imagine that there would be some differences between the script to what the comic book ended up being. I think they would have had to change probably the structure a little bit here and there. Yeah, so it was very awesome. I really enjoyed it. Still has me thinking a lot of things, which, I won't go into. I don't want to spoil anything for any of the listeners that haven't read The Power of the Dark Crystal. Of course, it is out now at your local comic book shop, or you can even get it digitally at through Comixology, so which is very cool. And I know with the first issue that there's a lot of different covers that you can collect. I believe besides the main one, there's 7 different covers that you can collect. So, for all the collectors out there, good luck trying to get all of them. As for myself, I'm just going to collect just the individual issues. Yeah, I think for me, being from Australia, sort of collecting can be a bit hard, a bit of a challenge. Not a challenge, but it's just more expensive, more of an expense. So it's not something I sort of, delve into, but no, it's great to see that the comics are finally out, and I've been hearing great things about it. I've been hearing great reviews in particular, so which is great. So just hope it all keeps going, and we've got a whole year of Power of the Dark Crystal to look forward to, which is very awesome. But yeah, originally I had scheduled a Skype conversation with Bland for us to actually chat about it, and unfortunately, with him being unwell, it didn't work out. But I'm sure in a future episode, we'll definitely hear from Bland his thoughts about the Power of the Dark Crystal. And we will probably do a discussion episode of Powers of Dark Crystal in the later future. I know that we are currently working on the roundtable discussion for Shadows of the Dark Crystal. So I know there are a couple episodes that are in the works at the moment. So, which is great. So, I hope you stay tuned for those ones. I think the first part is going to come out in March, and another one in April. And I think, based on the discussions that we've recorded, that we've still got a lot to tell. So, I have no idea how many parts it's going to be, but regardless, it's going to be awesome times. Now, the next thing that recently came out was actually the Garthim reaction figurine. It was actually interesting because I think reading all about this from the Dreamfasting the Dark Crystal Experience Facebook group, apparently the figurines have actually arrived in Australia, and I believe that the US is going to get them very soon, probably by the time you're listening to this, or sometime, I think it was sometime in early March, that the figurines were going to come they'll be released at Toys R Us, because it is a Toys R Us exclusive. Not in Australia, they're just sort of released in just your normal pop culture shops, like Pop Culture and Minotaur and Go Figure Collectibles. I don't know any of the other ones. Because funnily enough, the other day I was actually trying to track down a Garthim, and all the stores that I called up were out of stock, but I did found one place that they had the last Garthim left. So I quickly went to the city to get my hands on it and come back home and open it and look at it. So Yeah, and yeah, so I managed to get my hands on one of them. So no, which is awesome. And it's actually pretty cool. I was surprised about how big it was. I think it's just the same size as the Garthim slash Cura winged and Fizzgig figurine that was an exclusive for New York Comic Con. So I'm pretty certain it's pretty much the same size. It's just the Garthim in its box. The Toys R Us sticker on it, and yeah, it was very cool. And I guess the other thing I was really surprised was the cost as well. It was only $20 Australian dollars, so I thought it was going to be a lot more than that. I thought it'd be probably 25 or even 30. So I was happy about that. So I'm definitely going to try and get my hands on another Garthim to have as part of my collection of the reaction figurines. Also, there was another announcement about the Dark Crystal Tales from Boom Studios, which is going to be like a just a children's book of stories from that takes place, from in the Dark Crystal world, I guess you could say. So which is pretty interesting. I know it's something that Boom Studios sort of did with the Labyrinth Tales, and so I guess for this year they're bringing out one, Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Tales. So based on their press release, they're proud to announce it as Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Tales, a new children's book set for release this summer by acclaimed writer and artist Cory Godby, who of course is doing the illustrations for the upcoming songs of the Dark Crystal, and that'll be coming out mid this year, I believe. So, which is very cool. And it delves deep into the Skeksis ruled land of Thra in this beautiful look at some of Jim Henson and Brian Froud's finest creations from the beloved cult classic film The Dark Crystal. Goes into some detail about, one tale when a little bird is hurt in a Skeksis net. Jen takes it to the mystics for healing and learns how every act of kindness grows like ripples in a lake. So I'll attach that on the show notes, that press release about the Dark Crystal Tales. And yeah, it's pretty awesome just to see that we're going to get more Dark Crystal stories coming out this year. So, from Powers to Songs of the Dark Crystal to Dark Crystal Tales. And who knows what else is in the works. I know there's the Dark Crystal Companion book that's going to come out later this year as well. And that's pretty much all the news and talk for this month's Trial by Stone. So again, lots to look forward to. And I'm sure Bland will be back next time to chat about his thoughts on all the recent discussions from this month's show. So stay tuned. And now let's go and chat about the Gelfling Gathering, the final installment of our discussion. And so from that, the next sort of lot of information is about the essence of the crystal, written by Skektek the scientist. So it's pretty much just a definition of what the Dark Crystal is and what the power of shards and what the essence.
Well, and at this point, we know that the Skeksis do know that they were once Urskeks and that they were split apart.
Yes.
By the power of the Great Crystal.
Yeah.
And it was the source of their knowledge and protection, but since the crystal was cracked, and we all thank our emperor that it did, fascinating new possibilities arise. So when they thank the emperor that it did, are they thanking him just because he's the emperor? Or are they thanking him because he was the one that cracked the crystal? And that's why he's emperor.
Yeah.
We still don't know that.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think, because I know they show that illustration. I mean, it is in the film, but it's also in Volume 2 of Creation Myths.
Well, in the film, the one that cracks the crystal is actually wearing a carapace and an outfit, and it's not like it is in creation myths, but that's that's probably the main difference in the film and the creation myths.
Yeah.
But it could have just been an image that they were showing Jen, like the crystal or the shard could have been showing, or the crystal itself could have been sending an image to the shard to share with Jen, and it presented it in a way that Jen needed to see it in order to understand it.
Yeah, because
maybe if he had seen it, if he had seen the Skeksis as they were when they first split, he might have been
sense.
like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, yeah, true.
So it could have just been helping him understand.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's all mystical, magical power.
Yeah,
we have to accept how it is. There's loopholes, okay, people.
Yeah, we've worked it out. Yeah, basically just a melding of the two images. The crystal from the past and the Skeksis from that current sort of, era, I guess. Yeah, not those skinny Skeksis, that pop out. Yeah, from the crystal.
And I didn't take notes on any of these different powers of the crystal, and they've got the powers of the dark crystal, the power of the shard, the powers of the essence. I didn't take any notes on any of that just because, it's so informative and it's a good read.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking it out. Yeah, that really goes into a bit of the detail. So it's just like a one page about the dark crystal, the power of shards, and the essence. And I think that
the dark crystal is more powerful than it was before, and it says for our purposes. The dark crystal is even more powerful than it was before. So they actually prefer it cracked and darkened, as we know. The changes in the crystalline structure have awakened dark energies that were trapped before. Strong energies that can drive our machines and power our spells. Violent energies that can guide us in our quest for domination. In fact, though it is a terribly unscientific thing to say, I sometimes feel as if the dark crystal is alive. See, and that's why I didn't take notes on it, because the whole thing is worth reading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's not much to, just taking it as it is. Yeah.
The power of the shards. My experiments suggest that every fragment of a gem of power, no matter how small, still retains some capabilities of the original stone. Thus, crystalline shards are of tremendous interest and utility. Crystalline shards of various sources provide the power for many of my inventions. Refractive properties have enabled me to beam light from the dark crystal, and of course, these beams are essential in our plan for large-scale extraction of, and then it goes into the essence. The technical term essence is the pure energy of life in liquid form. As we have become to age, our essence has slowly... Okay, so this explains why they are slowly dying. And as we Skeksis have become to age, our own essence has slowly drained away, requiring that we replenish it by whatever means necessary. The podlings and gelflings are the most readily available source of this fluid, though I believe it can or could be extracted from almost any living creature. Some among us have noticed that the different subspecies of gelfling provide different types of essence with different properties. His fascinations lie in the area of applications. He wants to keep them young and strong. And what other uses might this marvelous fluid have? Could it power our machines or be used as a weapon? Might it be mixed with other ingredients to create empowering elixirs? And what might happen if a gelfling was forced to drink the essence of his own kind? This last is more a question for my personal amusement than for scientific gain. But in time, I shall conduct experiments to satisfy my every curiosity. So that just shows how twisted Skek Tech is. It also shows that the crystal, all the crystal shards, anything within the world of Thra that's crystalline has some kind of a power to it, and he wants to figure it all out and unlock it and use it for their world domination.
Basically, yeah. Could just imagine if like he got like all the essence from the 7 Gelfling clans and combined them all, and like I wonder what.
That could be the climax of the last novel where he has all 7 essences and he was going to drink it. It was going to make him all powerful, but then Ryan had to come in, or Rian had to come in. And, I don't know.
I know.
I hope that's not the plot. Jan, please don't change it. Keep it going.
Oh god, yeah. I don't. Yeah, we're just speculating. I mean, of course, yeah, we do. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just like, talking about all these essences, and then it just kept my mind thinking about like, if he's just experimenting, if he got every Gelfling clan, a member, and like what that would happen, like
maybe
chaos.
maybe that's what kills him.
Because it's just all just too much to
maybe it's too much, and it has kind of it does make him all powerful, but because of that, it causes him to lose more essence in the long run over time.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, he is alive in the film.
Ooh, here we go.
What?
I said, here we go. There's a good little plot there. 7 essence of the 7 clans, and that's what eventually kills Skekso in the end.
Oh. That's actually not bad. Yeah. I would. That would be really interesting, yeah.
But any kind of story around the 7 essence of the 7 clans being all in one elixir would be interesting.
It would be, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So here we know that everything has essence.
Basically, yeah.
We know podlings and gelflings have essence from the film, but now we know that pretty much any living creature can be drained of essence.
Basically, yeah. And they might have its own power, or that sort of thing. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. So I mean, Skektek
my iPad just died.
Yeah.
So I am without Gelfling Gathering at the moment.
That's okay.
So the next section.
It was the world of Thra. So basically, the listing below describes the world of the crystal as known by the Woodland clan. Doubtless, many other terrains and territories await discovery in the outlying areas, but they shall only be revealed by further study.
Who wrote the article on this one?
It's saying the Woodland clan. Like, it doesn't say specifically who wrote it. It just says.
This is just information that we know from the Woodland clan of the Gelflings.
Basically, yeah.
And it's all their descriptions of the world of Thra.
Yes, yeah.
And what they know about it.
Yeah, exactly. So you got the first...
So this is interesting, like why the focus on the Woodland clan? Is that to say that maybe that's where Jen is from?
Yeah, it could be, yeah. And why not any other clans? Or whether... Because, I mean, the Woodland clans, aren't they more the farmers? They're sort of protectors of the castle of the crystal?
Yeah, the Woodland, they're proud, ancient. They live in fertile lands. They're valuable guards at the castle.
Yeah.
Farmers, cobblers. Cobblers. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha, yeah.
Peaceful but fierce when threatened.
Yes, yeah.
So that's Jen is peaceful, but when he's threatened, I mean, he kind of has a little oomph when he's, under. I mean, he attacks Skeksil, and he puts himself between Skeksil, the Chamberlain, and Kira. Or no, Kira. I'm sorry, Kira puts herself in between them. But could that mean that? I mean, that just shows that there are certain Gelfling clans. Like, I don't know. It's like.
Yeah.
Are they this way because they're raised this way, or are they this way because of their essence, or are they this way because of genetics?
And and so it just went for a description of everything. So it goes from Scarith, which I guess is what the country. I'd probably describe as a country. That Thra of the planet Thra, where everything takes place. So just says, the expansive plain has been green and good but now for some reason it seems to be slowly dying. And the realm of Scarith is the seat of the Skeksis Empire, ruled by Skekso. And in the heart of Scarith lies the Castle of the Crystal. We all know what the Castle of the Crystal is. It's just, where all the Skeksis hang out.
Okay, I pulled it back up on my computer here.
Yeah, the castle glows with the radiant power of the crystal, though some say it is not as bright as it once was. So that's sort of, something
strange
that we know.
Creatures have begun to dwell in the moat.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to say. So the castle, from what we see in the film, there's not a moat. It's just a big crevice around the castle.
Yeah.
And down below, there's they kind of describe it as the skeleton of some large worm or something.
Yeah.
But there's skeletons and whatnot. There's, as we know now, there's a dead Garthim and a dead Landstrider.
Yeah.
And then we see the teeth of Screesh, which is the entrance to the lower part, the caves of the castle, the sewers.
Yeah, that Jen and Kira go through, yeah.
So it's curious to know, was there once water around the castle? And at the point of the film, is it completely dried up from all the evil?
The darkness, yeah. Yeah.
So here it's saying it dwells, strange creatures have begun to dwell in the moat. So what's the actual definition of a moat? Is it, does it have to be filled with water?
A moat is a deep, broad ditch, either dry or filled with water that surrounds a castle. So it can be, yeah.
Okay, so that's, you learn something every day. So there's all these strange creatures that are living in this crevice around the castle.
I reckon that's probably the trying to think those the minor characters. Maybe they were the strange creatures that sort of dwell there. Because remember, I think in Creation,
the sequel, The Power of the Dark Crystal, goes into the creatures that dwell underneath the actual underground of the castle. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. In Power of the Dark Crystal. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So something to look for. Yeah.
So here we have the
Darkwood, yes, yep.
It's a vast untamed thicket located near the castle, considered dangerous.
Yep. And I think it's a big part of the story of Shadows of the Dark Crystal. It's just a big dark foresty. I'm just saying though, it is said that this claim.
It says that the claim
of being dangerous might be disputed by the numerous ill-tempered sprite and Gelfling living deep within the wood.
So the forest is claimed by the Woodland clan, but then the Sprighten also live deep within the wood.
Yes, yeah. So just a very short.
I guess the Sprighten are just whatever, we're tough enough.
Yeah.
It ain't dangerous.
Yeah. Take it on. And then we go to the Podling Village.
The Podling Village.
Yes, the warm rustic home of the Podlings, a simple folk whose knowledge of the world does not extend far beyond the borders of their town. If it doesn't concern the growing or eating of Torbla roots, the pod people generally don't care to hear of it.
So they pretty much stick to themselves. Is this the Podling Village from the film? And is it the only Podling Village? Or did the Podling also have different clans? Which I think in Creation Myths, didn't they establish that there were different Podling villages?
I think so, yeah. I think there would be at least a couple of them.
Because that was how the word spread about the miners attacking, was that the word was spreading from village to village. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I think they actually do have a name, the Macrax, I think.
Yeah, the Macrax.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Um so yeah. No, gotta love the podlings. And I mean, to me, I just, when they just party like it's 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 1982.
1982, yeah. They were partying before there was such a thing as partying like it was 1999. And then, okay, so the next part is the Valley of Mystics, which is just the Mystics' homeland where they...
I like how they describe it as the deepest valley in the known world. It's beyond the reach of the darkening land.
Yeah.
So this is actually saying that the dark crystal has cracked and is darkened, and it has also unleashed all of these extra powers, according to Skek Tech. And it's draining energy from the world and darkening the world itself. But it also, from what we found out in Shadows, is that these thread-like crystalline veins that run out around the world are also affecting the creatures of the world and the land and whatnot. So it's interesting that they're saying here that the Valley of the Mystics is beyond the reach of the darkening land. So it's almost like this darkening effect is spreading
Around it, yeah.
But the valley, as we know, it's also protected by their, they have their enchantments and their stones and everything that protect the valley. So I'm wondering if at this point the darkening hasn't spread to the Mystic Valley, but at the point in the film it has, but the Mystics are able to keep it at bay.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And maybe that's another reason why Ursu is dying, because he's using all of his power to protect all of the Mystics himself.
Yeah, and it's just getting to a point where it's just overtaking the darkness. I mean, and I guess as well as it's getting close to to the 1,000 years, the Great Conjunction, that I think darkness sort of ensued a lot more. Because I mean, that was the thing. It was like, if the prophecy didn't get sorted, by that Great Conjunction, then Skeksis would rule forever. As they would say it, yeah. And would probably just create more of a darkness to Thra.
It's kind of interesting, like, would that Great Conjunction, like, say the Jen never found the shard and the crystal was never healed and the Great Conjunction happened, do you think that the Skeksis would have been revitalized completely as they were during that previous conjunction where they were split? And in a sense, wouldn't that also revitalize the Mystics?
Yeah, because I mean, they knew at the time that they couldn't get rid of the Mystics, because it's like, oh, if we kill the Mystic, then one of us is going to die. Yeah. Also,
they know that they're from the Skeks at this point. Yeah. So that's another interesting thing to think about. Like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then we got the Crystal Sea. So it's made of tiny crystals instead of sand. Is a harsh and brutal desert and home of the Dowson clan. It glitters and shifts with strange currents and sudden storms under the scorching sun.
I like that. Yeah. But it has strange currents. Like, how can all these tiny little crystals have a current?
Yeah.
Like, is it because of the heat, or is it because there's creatures in there, or is there something? I don't know. Is there some kind of a energy out there that moves from crystal to crystal, but because it's like tiny little sand, does it like spread in waves and therefore causes them to move? It's
Yeah.
Another interesting thing to think about.
It is, yeah. I mean, like I hope like they sort of go through, in the future books, go into the Dowson clan and especially the Groton clan as well, which I mean, it sort of mentions about the Cave of Obscurity, which is just a massive network of caves, dimly lit by the dull glow of crystal shards, and yeah, it's the dwelling place of the Groton clan. So that's where they all hang out. Yeah, and then we go into
The Black
the
River.
Black River. Yes, yeah.
This is the river that Jen and Kira go down when they first meet.
Yes, yeah.
They go into the boat that they use is a giant beetle back. It's like a dead beetle.
Oh,
and so they
okay,
use
yeah.
its shell as a boat.
Because I actually heard something whether that was actually like the back of a Garthim.
Oh, see, look, they even go into this in the description.
Yeah.
It says giant beetles are found in the area, and upon their death, their large shells are used by podlings as makeshift boats.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you answered my
That's
question.
actually
Yeah, I
in
know.
there, yeah.
I just needed to read that extra sentence to.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just remembered. I don't know that like in the making of the film. I don't know whether it's the making of the film or I don't know. I thought I saw somewhere that it's like, oh,
like it was
was
might have been
it a
Garthim shell.
Garthim, like a Garthim shell? But
I wonder if they
think
designed
giant beetles,
the Garthim.
Yeah.
I wonder if these giant beetles were inspiration for the Garthim so that they could kind of blend in.
Maybe, yeah.
They wouldn't fear him at first.
Yeah. I actually like that scene with Kira singing, and then I just love just looking at Fizzgig. He's just like, I'm so bored on this boat. And then I always think
their song, and then we see a crystal bat.
And I always think of
okay.
And I always think of this song. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say the only thing about the film that they don't touch up on is so this crystal bat's knocked down by Kira with a bola whip, and it raises up out of the water and stares at him. So you have Jen and Kira in the boat. So do the Skeksis see that or not? So from my understanding is that they see that in the book, in the novelization.
Yeah.
And when Skeksil presents Kira,
yeah,
the Skekung is like, well, where's the other Gelfling?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he's down in the sewers. I already killed him. And he's like, well, I want to see him. I want to see him and make sure he's dead. And then they go down there and they can't find him. And
yes, yeah. And so the other thing I was thinking, like, when I hear Kira's song, it always just reminds me of like of the Doctor Who theme song.
Oh yeah.
Do you get that? Like,
I can get that.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I always wanted to sort of do like melding the two themes together to see what it would sound, comparing them back and forth to whether it was the inspiration. I doubt it, but I mean it's but I always just sing
yeah, from what I hear, there was originally lyrics to the song, but they decided to just use vocalization instead.
Oh, okay.
So I am so curious to know what those lyrics were.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be awesome to get those lyrics. Who knows? I mean, that'd be something awesome if it appears like in the visual history of the Dark Crystal. That's going to come out sometime in 2017, September 2017. So yeah. Alrighty. So moving on, we'll go to the Claw Mountain, northwest of the Castle of the Crystal.
Hook-like outcroppings, which when I read that description, that kind of reminds me of the castle itself. Because there's all kinds of like weird hook-like structures and stuff on it.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Just a big mountain.
Says that some who have tried to climb it have never returned. And we've got the gnarled stone tree, the oldest tree in the known world, spans some 300 trors in diameter. Whatever a tror is.
Yeah, where it's in.
It
I
reaches
think either
skyward.
meters or miles.
Strangely easy to overlook on first sight, it is rumored to offer clues leading to the Valley of Mystics, but you are advised
Not
not to go looking.
Hmm.
And we have the Swamp of Sog, and here we have another term that we don't know. More than 600 yorgs of vile, putrid muck, shaded by a thick canopy of vines and weed trees.
I just
Arguably,
yeah, sorry, I just love the term Yorgs. It's something, something
yeah,
from the Swedish chef.
yeah.
Yorgs.
And I think,
yeah.
I guess the weed trees became the ape knots,
Ah, yes, yeah. Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
and arguably the least pleasant place in our entire world, but the Gelfling of the Drenchen clan seem to like it.
They sure do. And yeah, that's one of the main places of Shadows of the Dark Crystal. So yeah, there's that, and then we got the Silver Sea, which is a sea that forms the border of the known world. Islands are said to
Says it's immeasurable.
yeah, the immeasurable.
It's immeasurable. So I'm curious to. Okay, so if we were to stand on one of our coastlines of an ocean, you would think, okay, this sea goes on forever and ever. It's immeasurable. So is the sea actually immeasurable, the Silver Sea on Thra, or is Thra mostly covered in water? And that's why this map is all that's known.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing from whether this map is illustrated from a Gelfling's point of view. Because you think, that they would explore. Yeah. They would they'd be on boats and they'd be exploring all over
This
Thra.
Is their known world, or is this actual known world? Is the Silver Sea cover most of the planet?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, it makes me think about that. Yeah, like how much whether there are where there are other countries like on Thra that are different creatures or whatnot that have no idea what's happening on Scarith, with the Great Conjunction. Like, they'd be aware of this event that happens every 1,000 years, but the consequences that sort of come about it. Just another thought came to my mind, Again, there's sort of, more potential for future stories, to explore the other side of Thra, essentially,
And then we have the High Hill, which is the craggy mass of rocks with shrubs and thickly growing grasses. Few dare to journey there. Vine-like creepers abundantly grow on the steep spur of rock that arises into a dome. It is rumored to be haunted. So I guess at this point they don't know that this is where Aughra's at?
No, I mean,
or they've forgotten.
Because I mean, this is because it's saying that it's written by the Woodland clan.
So I guess the Woodland clan doesn't know that Aughra is on a high hill, and that's where her observatory is with her orrery.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Aughra, we up to the second last page from the writings of Aughra. It's just her. Yeah.
This excerpt is from The World of the Dark Crystal, the Book of Aughra.
Oh, okay, yeah. It is. I know it's something I do need to give that a read someday with the World of the Dark Crystal. I just get so distracted by the artwork every time I open it up. So basically this is all just from the Book of Aughra. So that's kind of cool to sort of.
I'm trying to find where it actually is in the book.
Yeah.
I can't find where this excerpt is from in the actual book.
But basically it reads, from before the darkness, when I placed my hand on the carved rocks, the rocks sang to me, and I shared their song with the Gelfling. I watched the Gelfling as they traveled through their lives. I made dwellings in the rocks for their empty bodies, and the rocks will care for them as long as the world remains. But then the Skeksis stole the Gelfling with force and fear. For from the castle and the darkened crystal within it, there spread out evil like a cloud, power that no longer led to harmony. The light of the suns lost its brilliance, the song of the crystal was deadened. And as one standing in the midst of a mountainside forgets the sunlight, forgets the path and the world and all outside the shifting greyness, so in all creatures that cloud of evil led their hearts to confusion.
Right as you started reading that is when I found it.
Oh, you did found it?
It's on page 40 of the original. print.
Yes, yeah, cool. Nice, yeah.
And that's where they have some of the Gelfling sketches that Brian Proud did.
Yes, yeah. It's a great book. That's, you know, if you haven't got your hands on it and you love the Dark Crystal, I think that's like one of the must-haves.
Yes, it's like pretty much the Holy Grail.
Yes, yeah, and then we're up to the final page. The final threat from Skekok, the Scroll Keeper.
Yeah.
Yes. So I kind of like, sort of poking fun, you know.
It brings that humor back in that you got from the beginning.
Yes,
where it's like, you know.
Yeah. Because, again, like this was designed as sort of, you know, the writing contest. So it's sort of, just having fun. It's like, it is forbidden to tell anyone what you have read, and do not dare to turn these vicious lies into an entertaining fantasy book filled with strange creatures, mystical places, and exciting young heroes.
You have been warned.
Exactly. And then, I think
the Emperor himself shall drink your essence.
Yeah. Fool, you shall pay for your disobedience. Yeah, so I mean that's everything with the Gelfling Gathering. The author quest,
and something to be said about this document, the PDF document. It's like each page has this kind of like rough, torn edge look to it, and then some of them have some artwork in the background,
it does, yeah.
like symbolism, and all. It's well put together. It's got some interesting artwork attached to it.
Yeah.
There's some images of the crystal and some Brian Froud diagrams and things that he did.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just looking. Yeah, there's at least a good couple of pages of Brian Froud's artwork that is present in the document.
Well, the first page, basically the cover is his Dark Crystal image that is in the world of the Dark Crystal, which is also on the second page of this document, which is on the mock-up cover of the visual history book. So we don't know if that's the actual cover that's going to be on the visual history book. A lot of people don't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of don't like that image of Jen. But,
I think I remember it being just a mock-up, so I would imagine it'd be change. Either it'll be similar.
My original thought, my original thought for if they did do a visual history book, my original thought was that the cover should be embossed and have a window cut out where it looks like the crystal, and you see an image of Jen in the crystal. And so then when you open the book, it reveals that image of Jen in the crystal is actually Jim puppeteering Jen.
Okay.
So like when you open it up, you see a much broader picture, and it shows, it's like behind the scenes with Jim Henson holding Jen up. So it's not just Jen from the film, it's Jen being puppeteered.
Yes, yeah.
So
that'd be pretty sweet, yeah.
I don't work for the Jim Henson Company or for developing it.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast,
please get in contact with us. Yeah, but it was a pretty, it was a good read. Going through the Gelfling Gathering document, and I
highly recommend that everyone read this before they read Shadows.
Yes,
you don't need to; it's not a necessity, but it really does give you a good kind of foundation.
It does, yeah. It really sets everything up for Shadows of the Dark Crystal. That's for certain.
You've already taken too long, Gelfling. Hurry!
At last, the crystal calls. It is time
Time to return to the castle.
The crystal calls! To the crystal chamber!
Well, that's all the time I have for this month's Trial by Stone. Special thanks to David Easter for the brilliant Trial by Stone logo. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can do so at darkcrystalpodcasts@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/darkcrystalpodcast, or follow us on Twitter at darkcrystalpod. If you love the show and think that others would like it too, then please spread the word about the podcast, and even write a 5-star review on iTunes. I hope you all enjoyed the show and come back next month for more Trial by Stone.